Hello and welcome everyone. Today we will be working on an issue related to shepherd reloading logic, which happens in Guix Home container. If you have any questions, please write to the chat or on IRC channel. I read both of them. Please let me know if music is too loud. I will adjust it. First of all, let's open an issue that we will be working on. This is an issue reported by Ludovic. Let's try to reproduce it first. We need some simple home environment that we can use for building and launching a container. Probably I have one. Actually, I find music distracting overall, so I set my volume, local volume, to very low value that I almost can't hear any background noise. Probably this one should be good. Here we need to use pre-inst env script, which sets guy load path to the current directory. It will make it possible to test changes that I made to Guix repository without rebuilding Guix utility itself, and it will shorten the feedback loop. But let's first take a look at home environment which we will be using. This home environment setups emacs service, which in case forces shepherd to be present. I don't remember if shepherd is a part of essential services. Let's take a look. default essential services. No, there is no shepherd in this list. Okay, let's build this home environment and let's see what will happen. Oh, okay. This home environment uses home services defined in RD project. Let's not use them because I don't want to pull external dependencies to test some Guix functionality. Let's create a simple service. Actually, maybe we have something that uses shepherd here. Home shepherd service type. Let's do home shepherd. Let's try to instantiate Redshift service. Desktop. I don't know if it has a default value. Let's see. Yep, it has. Now let's try again. What do you usually do while waiting until something will be built? Especially when you compile some large programs. Okay, it was built and it probably spawned a shell, but let's spawn a terminal, full-fledged terminal, so we can test some terminal-related functionality. And let's set a shell variable to bash. We do it to spawn a bash inside Guix Home container, because container command reads this variable and tries to understand which shell is set as a default shell for the user. Actually, shell variable should be or must be set to the full path to your shell, but it's okay to set it to only name, because container command parses the shell variable content and uses only the last few bits, so there is no much sense to set it to the full path. And let's see what will happen. let's restart it one more time. First of all, it creates symlinks, profile, and fonts conf. After this, it starts a shepherd and tries to load a new configuration. It happens during activation. And maybe there are some cases when we don't want it to happen because we don't have a session for the user. Sometimes we want to activate a home environment, and by activation we mean only setting appropriate symlinks and not to do any additional stuff as restarting services or something like that. I think that reloading the configuration of some services or restarting some stuff should be done in onChange service, so we can disable it during activation phase in case there is no user session and there is nothing to restart or reload. After that, onChange actions happens. There is no fonts, so nothing happens during onChange checks. And after that, Shepherd tries to start Redshift, but it can't do it because there is no X session right now, so it fails, and probably Shepherd will disable the service. Interesting that for some reason it says that it starts root again. It was already started during config reload, and it starts it again here. And of course it fails with address already in use because it was started earlier during the configuration reload. Oh, okay. Okay. We have nothing. Let's extend the list of packages available for us. Okay, probably it's called psutils. Yep. maybe it procutils. Okay, I can do something like this. I just read the symbolic link for PS installed in my system, and I can see that it located in proc PC PS folder. So I added this package to the home environment, and it should appear in the container inside. Good, now I see that I have a Shepherd service started, and now I need to fix the problem that the Shepherd started 2 times, and first appearance of Shepherd happens before it has to happen, because we don't need to start Shepherd during activation. The interesting question is how to understand that the user session is already started. First obvious fix will be to check if the folder and socket with socket for Shepherd exists, and not to launch another Shepherd process. Okay, we have a logic which do the interesting thing. It reloads the configuration if socket exists, but if it doesn't, it launches a Shepherd process. And also, let's see here. It always launches a Shepherd on first login. So the situation which happens right now, we launch activation script before the user has a login shell spawned, and that makes a problem when 2 Shepherd instances appears at the same time. to prevent it, we need to add a condition to launch Shepherd G expression. I think somewhere here. If file exists, or more likely unless Okay, let's see if it helps. Now the Shepherd will be launched only if it's not already launched. As you can see, the error message disappeared. And we can say that we already solved the problem, the issue described here. But probably we want to commit it first, and maybe later we will think about some additional improvements that we can do. In reality, I mean, in ideal case, I don't want to ensure that Shepherd launched during activation. It should be launched only on first login. Because activation can happen outside of the user session, for example, by system administrator. In case we want to incorporate home environment inside a system configuration and to make it manageable by administrator, not the user. And in such case, activation script will be called outside of user session during the system reconfiguration, which can make some problems. Okay, let's first commit our fix. and after that we'll handle this case. Interesting question. What will happen if I will try to launch another instance of the Shepherd? Shepherd. Okay, it will fail. Good. We stage only this hunk without to do. It's Shepherd. Shepherd. here I would like to rewrite this code to use on change service. Because the config reload should happen only in on change service, because it will prevent unnecessary reloads. And also we will be able to control all side effects in one place. And reloading the configuration is obviously a side effect. To use onChange service, we need to store a shepherd configuration somewhere in files directory or in Guix Home directory. I don't think that we want to store it at the root directory, so I would like to place it inside .config/shepherd. Looks good to me. First of all, let's disable this functionality and let's make another service extension to home xdg configuration files service type. Shepherd configuration. I'm looking for examples where I use this service to see the naming convention. Actually, there is no strictly defined naming convention. So here I have one naming approach and here I have another. Okay, this function should be quite straightforward. Shepherd. It will add shepherd. Oops. Let's shepherd same, for example. Like this. SSH configuration. Actually not needed here because we have only one place where we store configuration. For the SSH we store files both in xdg, config home and in root of home folder. So the two functions. And here we need only one, and it doesn't have to be so specific. Let's see a blog post about shepherd. It uses init-scm. So let's stick with it. In addition to that, we can remove this part. So shepherd will always will be using a default configuration and not the full path as it done in system shepherd. The reason why we want it, first of all, the visibility. We will see all the configuration files in .config directory, which is generated by Guix Home. And clearly it will be clear what's the content of those files, instead of finding a launched process and its arguments and looking for the content of those arguments. We can just look at this directory and see what configuration files will be used. It is the first upside of this approach. The second one is ability to use on-change service. On-change service contains the path inside Guix Home directory, a relative path. And if the file is present only in the store, we won't be able to use run on change service. And that is why we won't be able to reload configuration only if it changes. And if it stays the same, omit any action. Yep, so let's do it. Let's remove this. Here we will keep it. So we will use the full path to the shepherd config during reload. I'm not sure if we needed ensure shepherd Gex, or we need to move this check inside reload configuration G expression and only reload it if the shepherd launched. Okay, let's do it. Remove this one and this one. Oops. We don't need this function anymore. It will be run on change. Let's check that this file is created, and after that we'll implement logic for on change service. Oh, of course. It should be. lanes. Okay. Okay, now it's clear. We need to extract this information first. Oops. Term. The container successfully started. And let's see the content of Shepherd init file. The serialization is hard to read. Maybe someday I will write a serializer which pretty prints the configuration files, so it's easier to explore the content. Because sometimes you really want to see it yourself. In most cases, of course, it should be used only by programs. But when you explore what inside the system, or when you debug some issue, it's very handy to be able to see the pretty printed content of scheme files. Okay. Now let's see. Let's see what we can do about reloading the configuration. You can get rid of it, and let's check other examples of run on change. there is no place. Oops. RD. Let's see, run on change. Run on change service is used across some RD code, but not used in Guix yet. Okay. It will be a function which accepts a shepherd configuration. But actually we don't need it, I guess. Ah, what we do? Yep, we do. It will be, let me see. Run on change. It contains a list of lists. Like this .config shepherd init scm. And here we need a G expression, and the G expression will be reloading configuration G expression. Looks good, let's try it. Now we see that during activation process, shepherd is not started, but at the end of activation process, on change script detected the change in shepherd configuration, and after that, shepherd started. which is good. And it works as expected. The only thing that we probably want to introduce is additional condition in run on change script, which will checks if user session exists. The thought came in my mind is that service started after on change, because during on change nothing happened, because our G expression which reloads the shepherd configuration not starting shepherd anymore, and the shepherd itself started by run on first login script. To be sure, let's open run on first login. And here let's display something. Whoa. It's interesting. Seems that activation script was launched in parallel with run on first login. Let's see what we have in Guix Home container. Okay, here. Activation script launched here. Maybe the content is not flashed to std out. What if display invoking a login shell Oh. Oh. Probably I misplaced a message to display. I need services SCM. Okay, I just placed it in activation script instead of run of first login script. That's it. Everything worked correctly. Just missed a line or a few dozens. Good. Service. Shepherd service started after activation and not during, which is good. Okay, actually we can't disable on change service on activation without user session because some stuff like generating a font cache should be done on change even if there is no user session. Yep. So we will keep it as it is, and later we will think what we need to do to prevent some services like Sway from issuing any errors during reloading of the configuration. For example, we can do the same what we've done with Shepherd. We can check if some Sway instance exists, and only if it exists, then launch on change logic. It's a little leaky solution because every user of run on change service should implement such checks himself. But it seems reasonable. Okay, let's commit our changes. Also, I would like to try a new features implemented in latest version of Shepherd. But today I won't have a time for that. But still an interesting thing to do. Okay, let's commit our changes. We removed a configuration file absolute path. We also check if Shepherd already launched before reloading anything, and if it not launched, we don't launch it, which is logical, because for example, if we have a window manager on change script, which should be launched only if window manager is launched, and if user inside his TTI without any graphical environment, this script should not produce any visible effect or errors. The only last bit which probably can be useful is reporting that Shepherd is not launched yet, and we not reloaded anything, because it of course can be the case okay. Let's add new line, and it should force a flashing of output, and it should be placed earlier. Actually, I expected it to be just after this line. the another way to improve on change service is to add another argument which will be controlling the condition, and if condition is true it will evaluate the J expression provided, and if it false it will do nothing. For example, we can add a third argument to the list of onChange arguments, like here. In addition to J expression, we can do something like this, or some more advanced logic, which will be checking if we need to call the reload configuration J expression or not. This way we will be able to move the stuff out of this function, and the logic which says that Shepherd configuration won't be reloaded will be handled by run on change service itself. And the implementer and the user of run on change service won't hardcode any logic inside the reload configuration J expressions. One of the reasons we don't want to do it is because, let's see the output here. The output is well formatted, and here we have a one style for output, and we compare two version of configurations, and if they're the same, nothing happens, and if they're changed, we evaluate related J expression for reloading the configuration. And here, if they even changed by the condition of reloading configuration isn't met, we can say here somewhere that configuration changed, but we won't be reloading it because of this condition. Instead of writing this message by implementers of the service and users of run on change service, we can do it ourselves centrally in run on change service. And also it will make it easier for users of run on change service, because they don't need to do a translation of the message and so on. And also they don't need to care and about it, and they won't be able to forget to add this message. Okay. I see people joining and leaving and joining again, but nobody writes any comments. I'm interested if you following the work I do, or you just listening for music and my comments. Probably you can use my streams to make your children sleep well. The tone of my voice is very I don't know the word, but I think it makes people sleep. I think we will prepare patches and we'll send them, and after that I will go and make some food and probably will do my other stuff. Okay, 3 patches are ready. I still not documented the changes I introduced related to XDG configuration files service. Probably we need to do it, but very likely not today. Okay, I think it's all for today. Let me know what you would like to see in future streams, and maybe I will prepare some other material or will show the other part of my work or workflow in next streams. Thank you everyone for the attention, and see you in a bit.